Writing a solid project proposal is one thing, but presenting it to stakeholders is a whole other matter. I've seen great ideas fall flat, not because they weren't solid, but because they weren't presented in the right way. And in this video, I'll show you how to present a project proposal that earns attention, builds credibility, and gets approval. From audience prep to post-meeting follow-up, I got you covered with real-world strategies that work. But here's the thing. Once you use these tips and nail your project proposal, getting that all-important approval, what comes next is just as critical, which is execution. Because a green-lighted project doesn't mean much if you can't deliver results. That's where having a streamlined approach to project delivery really pays off. So if you're looking for a framework that keeps things focused and effective, then check out Slay Project Management link below. It's helped a lot of project managers stay sharp once the real work begins. Know your audience. Before you create a single slide or open your proposal document, stop and ask yourself one critical question. Who am I presenting to? Because here's the truth. Different stakeholders care about different things. If you walk into that room with a one-size-fits-all presentation, you risk losing their attention and their buy-in. Before you've even gotten through the first section, let's break it down, the different types of audience that you may come across. So the first one is executives, and they're focused on the big picture. They want to know certain things like, how does this project align with strategic goals? What are the potential risks? What's the return on investment, the ROI? And most importantly, what are you asking them to approve and support? They expect a fast, confident delivery that gets to the point. And if you're wandering into the weeds, they will check out. Now, sponsors are another one. Sponsors, on the other hand, are closer to the action, so they want to know these specific things. Is the project doable? How much effort will it take, and who needs to be involved? What are the risks and dependencies? How will this project fit into other initiatives already underway? What will they need to support to ensure project success? They're likely to ask detailed questions and push back on feasibility. So make sure you're ready to show that you have thought it through. Now, here's one you might never think of. Eventually, you'll put that approved proposal in front of your team, and you want their buy-in. And they're going to be looking for something completely different. They're not thinking about strategy or ROI. They want clarity and details on the following. Like, what am I responsible for? What's the timeline? What tools will we be using? And how does this impact my workload? The bottom line on all this is knowing your audience is key when presenting a project proposal. Okay, just a 5-second side note here before we move on. If you run projects, be sure to get my guide on how to avoid the 10 most common mistakes project managers make. I'll put the link below. Build a clear, compelling proposal. Once you've done your audience prep, it's time to create the materials that will carry your message. Whether you're building a formal proposal document or a slide deck, the goal is the same. Make it clear, compelling, and visually easy to follow. You're not just sharing information. You're guiding your stakeholders through a logical, well thought out case for why this project should move forward. Now, here are the headers you're going to use for your slide deck presentation. Take note, you may not use all of these for every presentation, but this will give you a good idea of everything you could potentially cover. So the first one is project name and background. Even if it isn't final, start naming your project and then give a brief background. What's the issues or the opportunity? Why is this proposal coming forward now? Set the stage so everyone understands the why, which is very important before diving into the what. Second thing is strategic alignment. You want to connect your project to a bigger goal. Show how it supports the company's strategy, improves operations, increases revenue, or reduces risk. This is especially important for executives. They need to know this isn't just a good idea, it's the right idea. The third thing you also want to add is objectives. Be clear about what success will look like, what this project is aiming to accomplish. This should be specific, measurable, and outcome focused, not just a list of tasks. Scope is something else that you want to consider. What's in, what's out, because let me tell you, scope creep kills momentum, so define the boundaries up front. Clarify deliverables, constraints, and what's not going to be tackled in this project. You also want to look at approach and methodology. How will you get it done? Outline the high-level approach. Will you use workshops, a discovery phase, agile sprints? This doesn't need to be overly technical, but give your audience confidence that there's a clear plan of action. You also want to take a look at key deliverables. What will they get at the end? A report, a working system, a process redesign? Be specific. And remember, deliverables are different from tasks. This is about what gets produced, not what gets done. Timeline is also important. Give a high-level view of the schedule. Think in milestones, not tasks. When does a discovery happen? When will key decisions be made? What's the estimated go live or completion date? No need for detailed Gantt charts here just yet. Just show the arc of the project. You also want to look at resources. Who do you need and for how long? This includes internal team members, external vendors, subject matter experts, and leadership time for approvals. Be realistic. 2, resourcing drives both timelines and costs. Which brings me to costs. Stakeholders will absolutely want to know how much is this going to cost. Now, you're going to have to give a ballpark high estimate with high-level breakdowns. You don't need exact numbers, but show that you've thought it through. Now, something else to consider is assumptions. What are you basing your proposal on? Whether it's team availability, budget approvals, tech readiness, spell it out. This helps to set expectations and avoid misunderstandings later. Success metrics. Okay, how will you measure whether the project was a success? Define a few meaningful metrics and tie it back into your objectives. This could be quantitative, like some time saved or dollars earned, or qualitative, like improved customer satisfaction or reduced error rates. Approval requests. Yes, you need to have this in there. This is when you make the formal request to move forward on the project, because you've brought them all the information they need to make a decision. I purposefully do this during the session because it gives the message that this is serious. This is not just an idea. It's something we need to move forward on. Now that you know the content you should include in your presentation, let's talk about how to actually make it visually appealing. First, you want to use visuals wherever possible. So for roadmaps, timelines, and images that relate to what you're saying all help to bring the message home better than long blocks of text. Number 2 is keep your slides clean. White space is a good thing. It helps laser beam the focus because your audience isn't distracted. Number 3, this is super important, bullet point everything and be short and sweet. You're going to embellish on each point verbally, so don't turn your slides into a script. It's not a reading assignment, it's a discussion. Number 4, here's an example slide that shows visual suggestions I just covered. See how it's an image, plenty of white space, and limited text that's arranged in bullets? It's focused and designed for discussion of what's on the screen. When you present a proposal that's structured, clear, and thoughtfully designed, it shows you've done your work. It builds trust, and it makes it much easier for your stakeholders to say yes. Structure the presentation and frame the conversation. When it comes time to present your proposal, remember, this isn't just a report you're reading aloud. It's a business case conversation. Your goal is to engage, persuade, and guide your stakeholders towards a decision. Let's talk about how to structure your delivery to make it flow, feel clear, and actually get results. Number one is to start strong. Your opening sets the tone, so don't jump straight into the details. Begin with a brief, confident introduction that frames the conversation. And you may say something like this: here's a challenge we're all addressing, blah, 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 blah. Or, this proposal solves these specific pain points and directly supports this strategic priority. Or you can even say something like this: the goal today is to walk you through the proposal, answer any questions so we can move forward with alignment. After your opening, you want to then preview the agenda. This may seem simple, but it's powerful. Giving stakeholders a high-level map of what you'll be covering helps them follow along and stay engaged. It also shows that you thought through your presentation and you respect their time. So here's a little technique I use to keep you on track with the agenda. I actually ask everyone to write down their questions and hold them until the end, when you will do a Q&A period. This is going to give you a chance to get through the entire presentation and to keep your message on track, especially if you have people in the audience who ask lots of questions and interrupt the momentum. Next, walk them through your proposal in a logical, structured sequence. The structure we reviewed earlier, starting with the background and the strategic element, and end with the metrics and costs. This is a great guide. Now, use clear transitions to signal when you're moving from one section to another. You could say things like, let's take a look at the high-level timeline, or now I want to walk you through how we would approach the delivery, or let's talk about the key assumptions behind this proposal. These transitions may feel small, but they make a huge difference in helping your audience stay focused and to process your message. Something else to consider is your pacing, because it matters too. If you've been given 30 minutes to present, aim to finish in 15. You want to be aggressive with getting to the point. As well, this will give you time for questions, discussions, and stakeholder input, which is often where the most valuable part of the conversation happens. And finally, watch your energy. Don't race through your slides. Slow down when you're making a key point. Pause after important transitions to check for reactions. When you treat your proposal presentation as a strategic dialogue, not a readout, you show up as a leader, not just a messenger. And that makes all the difference when it comes to getting approval and building momentum for your project. Practice and polish. Even if you know your proposal backwards and forwards, practice matters. It's one of the most overlooked steps in preparing for a project presentation, especially when you feel confident about the content. But knowing your material and delivering it effectively under pressure, let me tell you, are two very different things. When you're in front of stakeholders, possibly executives, you'll be managing a lot at once. Your slides, their questions, your timing, their reactions. And in those moments, it's your practice that will keep you clear, calm, and credible. Here's what practice helps you do. First thing, it helps you to tighten your wording and transitions so your presentation flows smoothly from section to section. It also helps you spot any awkward phrasing, filler words, or areas that feel kind of clunky or redundant. Practice helps you stick to time limits as well, because if you run long, your stakeholders will tune you out or cut you off before your closing asks. And finally, it helps you to refine your tone and delivery, especially if you're presenting to senior leaders who expect clarity, focus, and confidence. Now, this doesn't mean you need to memorize every line. In fact, memorization can make you sound robotic. Instead, rehearse. Rehearse until your key points feel natural and conversational, as if you're explaining your idea to a trusted colleague. Here are a few tips for practicing that really always work for me. First thing is record yourself and play it back. It's uncomfortable at first, but it's incredibly revealing. You'll hear pacing issues, distracting filler words, or where you're losing your energy. Or something else to consider is practice in front of a colleague, a mentor, or even a friend who will give you honest feedback, especially on areas that may be unclear or over-explained. And finally, time your presentation. The time it again and again and again. Cut, simplify, or streamline as needed to stay within your window and leave space for that all-important discussion. The truth is, the more comfortable you are with your material, the more confident you'll come across. And when stakeholders feel that confidence, they are far more likely to trust your leadership and your proposal. So yes, even if you've done dozens of presentations, practice, especially if stakes are high. It's one of the easiest ways to elevate your delivery and increase your chances of getting a yes. Command the room. Whether you're presenting virtually or in person, how you show up matters just as much as what you say. The content of your proposal may be rock solid, but if your delivery doesn't convey confidence, clarity, and leadership, your message unfortunately won't land the way it should. Your delivery should say, I believe in this project. I am ready to lead it. And that's not just about words. It's about how you carry yourself, how you connect, and how you create a sense of presence in the room. Now, when you present in person, which I always prefer, you're in a physical room with your stakeholders. Use that space to your advantage so you own the room. Think about standing tall. Posture speaks volumes. Walk in with calm confidence, not nervous energy. Make that eye contact with your audience, not just your slides. It builds trust and connection. Use your hands naturally, right, to reinforce key points. Mine I do a little bit too much sometimes, but this keeps people engaged and signals passion and clarity. As well, avoid hiding behind a laptop or a podium. If possible, move in front or to the side of the room so your audience can see you, not just your slides. Commanding the space shows ownership and confidence. Now, when you're presenting remotely, again, not my favorite, but make sure that the camera works for you. And yes, it's easy to let your energy drop or hide behind a screen. But virtual doesn't mean invisible. You can still show up with strong presence. So some things to consider is always have your camera on, right? It's harder to connect with someone you can't see. Your visual presence makes a difference. You also want to look into the camera lens when you're speaking, not at your slides, not at your second monitor. It may feel weird at first, but it creates the illusion of eye contact and keeps your delivery direct. You also want to use screen sharing strategically. Don't let your slides do all the talking. Share only what's necessary and resist the urge to read from them. Let your slides support you, not the other way around. Also, minimize distractions by closing unnecessary tabs on your computer. You also want to silence those notifications and keep your screen clear and focused. So whether you're presenting in person, my personal favorite, or virtually, you need to read the room. Great presenters don't just talk, they observe. So watch for signs that people are nodding, leaning in, or checking out. Are people looking confused? You want to pause and clarify. Are they disengaged? Ask a question to prompt some input. Do you sense resistance? Acknowledge it and create a space for conversation. The most effective presenters adapt in real time. They stay present, stay flexible, and make the presentation feel like a dialogue, not a broadcast. And here's the thing. You don't need to be flashy. You don't need to be a motivational speaker. You just need to be clear, prepared, and present. When stakeholders see that you believe in the project and that you're ready to lead it, they'll be far more likely to believe in it too. Anticipate questions and own the answers. If there's one thing I want you to take to heart, it's this. You should expect questions and welcome them. Questions are a really good sign. They mean your audience is listening, engaged, and thinking critically about what you've just presented. The worst reaction you can get after your proposal isn't pushback, it's silence. But here's the key. You need to prepare for questions just as intentionally as you would prepare your slides. Now, here's how to get ready. First, brainstorm the tough questions in advance. If you were sitting in their seat, what would you ask? Where are the risks? What's still unclear? Then prepare short, clear, confident responses. You don't need to memorize them, but you do want to practice how you'll frame your answers. Now, more importantly, don't fake it. If someone asks you a question and you don't have the answer, that's okay, and say so and offer to follow up. It's better to be honest than to guess and lose credibility. You can't predict every question, but there are some types of questions you should always be ready for. First one, budget concerns. What's driving the cost? Is there any flexibility? Another one is going to be resource availability. Do we have the right people for this? What happens if someone gets pulled away? The third one is going to be risk and mitigation plans. What could go wrong and how will we handle it? Another question that will for sure come up is competing priorities. How does this fit with other initiatives we already have underway? Timing questions should pop up like why now? Can't this wait? What's the urgency? Above all, keep in mind what stakeholders are really looking for. They're not expecting you to have all the answers. They're not. What they are looking for is evidence that you've done the thinking. When you respond with clarity and composure, even if you don't have every detail on hand, it builds trust. It shows you're leading this proposal with maturity, strategic awareness, and willingness to collaborate. So go into your presentation prepared, not just to present, but to discuss. Because when you can hold your own in that Q&A moment, you show that you're not just proposing a project, you're ready to lead it. Follow up like a pro, don't let the ball drop. Here's something a lot of project managers miss. The presentation isn't the finish line. I know, it's a starting point. Your proposal might have landed well in the meeting. You might have gotten nods, good questions, and even a verbal green light. But unless you follow up clearly and promptly, momentum fades, decisions stall, and your project risks falling through the cracks. If you want to stand out as a professional who leads with intention and keeps things moving, follow up like a pro. Here's what to do after the meeting. Number one, send a clear follow-up email within 24 hours recapping what was presented, what was discussed, and what the group aligned on. Attach or link the final proposal document or slide deck, especially if stakeholders want to revisit the detail or share with others. Make sure it's a clean version with any live updates made during the presentation. Also, outline next steps clearly. Who's doing what? What needs to happen to move forward? Are you scheduling a steering committee review? Waiting for budget confirmation? Make sure you clarify those ownership of those tasks and those deadlines. And summarize any decisions made and flag what's still open. This prevents confusion later on and gives stakeholders a chance to clarify if they're unsure or to approve decisions formally in writing. So why does following up matter? Well, following up like this is going to build your credibility. It shows you're organized, professional, and focused on execution, not just the ideas. It also protects the momentum you built during the meeting. Decision makers are busy. Other priorities are competing for their attention. Your follow-up brings a proposal back into focus and helps turn that early interest into committed action. Remember, the proposal presentation is just one step. The real work begins afterwards. A strong, timely follow-up can be the difference between that was a great idea and let's get started. Presenting a project proposal is one of the most high impact moments in a project manager's role. When done right, it earns you trust, buy-in, and a green light to move forward. If you've ever felt unsure about how to lead these conversations, or you want a simple step-by-step system for managing projects with more clarity and confidence, check out my Slay Project Management course. It is packed with tools, templates, and strategies that help real project managers deliver real results. The link is in the description. Now that you know how to present a winning project presentation, what about dealing with things going sideways in the middle of a project? Ooh, I've written a checklist on how to avoid that kind of project failure. I'll put the link below this video. If you're confused about where to start your project proposal writing, I break it all down in this next video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you found this video helpful, I would be grateful if you gave this video a thumbs up. See you at the next video.